Yeah.
It's all that poutine.
No, it's not. We're sorry. I'm sorry. It's all my fault today. I would admit that it's all my fault. Well, it's actually Russ's fault that we started at 3, but it's my fault they're starting at 3:30.
Right.
So, you
double down on it.
Yeah. I figured, what are the chances my kids are going to, always get out on time perfectly. And my daughter had some kind of project that she was doing. So she texted me, she's like, I'm going to be a little while. And I'm like, good day to pick that.
Yeah,
That's awesome. So we're good.
I'm never to blame for any time delays.
It's true. Mike is like a clock.
It is true. There's never been one even. What does that say about
not.
Mike? I don't know.
It means I'm extremely dependable.
Yes.
Yes.
And it means that he's had a real job where you and I, Russ, haven't had a real job in a long time.
Yes. That's true.
So we're not used to the whole concept of
accountability.
Accountability, yeah, like of time, of like Monday through Friday time things.
Yeah, I manage my own time. That's true.
Yeah, so it's kind of I appreciate that Mike's dependability is awesome.
So I do have a quickie subject here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yesterday, Team USA won in the World Baseball Classic, and just to kind of show Mike, who's already trying to.
Is that okay? While you talk about baseball, I'm gonna have this.
Yeah, do whatever you want. Yeah.
Fine protein bar that I'm gonna enjoy here.
Okay. Just because Mike will always try and shoot these things down, it did have a great impact, and I'll tell you why. First thing, actually, this week's show for Sirius XM, we're going to have Chris Drury on talking about Ranger prospects. And before the show started, I asked him what he thought about it, and he was thrilled. He was like, USA Baseball's had a hard time. This is a great thing. This is a great thing winning the World Baseball. Like, he was really happy about it. And because he knows that when you beat Japan and you beat Puerto Rico, these are two teams that the U.S. is generally not supposed to beat. And they did.
And I don't think many people remember that Drury was actually, was a baseball player and the Little League Series player and everything.
Yes, and he won the Little League World Series and all that. And so I thought he'd be a good person to ask, and he did care. And my point is, these games mattered to the players, and they played as well as they could play this time of the year as compared to spring training, Mike. Mm-hmm. And that is a positive.
Well, okay. I heard about the game. And I searched on my cable system for it, and it took me a half an hour to finally find it. That's how meaningless to me it is in the grand.
You never thought of MLB Network?
Well, honestly, I don't watch MLB Network that much.
Okay,
but it didn't have it on our cable guide. It didn't have it, and then I changed to MLB Network and found it.
Okay.
Now, I turned the game on when it was 4-0, and it ended up being 7-0. That team, as compared to previous teams, it did have some, not star power, but Giancarlo Stanton and Hosmer and a few other. It's a pretty decent team.
Yeah, Brandon Crawford. These are all really good players. Adam Jones is an excellent player.
But I can't remember who it was, but a major league player was talking about the World Baseball Classic and said to the effect of, there either has to be complete buy-in on this in terms of like everybody and make it like, the best that the U.S. can put out there, the best that Japan can be put out there. No, none of these guys being in spring training, or forget it completely. Not this.
I disagree. See, that's the curmudgeon-y look at it. And that's why I was, I'm okay with hockey doing this too, and I'm okay with it before the season starts. Everybody goes, wait, hold on. Everybody wants it after the season. I get that, right? But I also get why players' associations don't want guys playing beyond a certain date. But if you get them playing before the season, you are seeing a higher level of that sport than you're used to at that point in the season. And for the viewer, that's good.
Well, I mean, and that's what this is. This is basically the baseball version of the World Championships,
right?
And you know my opinion on the World Championships. It's like it's
but
never.
That's different because the season's still going on, and you're only getting guys from teams that are eliminated. That's different.
Yeah, it is different.
But more like the World Cup of hockey.
I was just cleaning my room.
That's okay. This is more like the World Cup of hockey, and this is why even though it didn't count and it was preseason, that Eck had such a good time covering it because the level of play, or at least the rivalry factor, is way more there than
what else. Kevin Allen has gone to the World Championships and covered that and says it's amazing. It's like, and for all we talk about World Championships of being like a tournament that is for the guys who don't make the playoffs and everything like that. If you go there, these things.
And that's because of the people in Europe. They really take it seriously. They do.
Well, here's the one problem. This is where this echoes the whole Olympic debate with the NHL. And we talked about this, mentioned it earlier this week. Didi Gregorius gets hurt for the Yankees, shortstop, gets hurt at the World Baseball Classic. He could be out a month. Now, okay, maybe
the players getting hurt.
Wait. This is the same as John Tavares blowing out his knee in the Olympics.
Chances are so much greater that John Tavares is going to blow out his knee.
Right. It's so much greater. I mean, this is Didi Gregorius having a shoulder injury, missing opening day, could happen in any spring training, and that is the one injury of note. There were no other injuries. Everybody else is fine. It was a good tournament. I'll tell you the other bitch that people are doing. Well, these are one-off games and baseball is all about series. Yeah, I get that when it's in the baseball season. This is not in the baseball season. This is different. So this is just something different. But it was a jovial crowd. They had the vuvuzelas going, which annoy the hell out of me. But it's a fun atmosphere. People just don't know how to have fun.
Charles Wong, if John Tavares gets hurt in a game against the New Jersey Devils, he's pissed off because it's his best player, but it's in the NHL. It's in a regular season game. It happens.
He's only 1% owner now, but I get what you're saying.
But at the time that Tavares got hurt.
Yes.
But if I'm Hal Steinbrenner or like the other brother, which I can't remember right now, and your starting shortstop gets hurt in a tournament that's really meaningless, I'm pissed off. And
you just don't know how to have fun, Mike. When was the last time you had fun?
The Toronto Blue Jays, Marcus Stroman goes out there and pitches 6 innings and is pitching a no-hitter.
Of no-hit ball.
And I'll bet you anything John Gibbons, their manager, is biting his fingernails.
It wasn't because he was throwing a no-hitter.
Yeah, they're worried about inning pitch limits and
not when the guy's throwing a no-hitter. When you've got a guy throwing a no-hitter before the season starts, you're feeling pretty good that, hey, this guy's going to roll into the regular season and start dominating hitting right away.
And when he has Tommy John surgery in March.
Oh, my God. All right, shut it down, Heck. Shut it down.
All right, so Travis Yost wrote today that
former Hockey Buzz
writer on TSM wrote that Hamilton and Giordano are the best defensive pairing in hockey. More on that in a second.
They're not.
Hello,
but I will say this. The demise, those reports of the Dougie Hamilton demise were greatly exaggerated. Like we pretty much were saying, his 47 points look pretty damn good at the moment. And again, he is a very young, mobile defenseman, a big defenseman. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, is it?
And he can skate
one
like
of the 5 best pairings? Maybe.
And he can skate like a deer. Yes.
Yeah,
no, but I'm just saying. But is it one of the 5 best pairings? Yes. Is it the best? No way.
I wouldn't say it's the best pairing in hockey, but this is Travis I respect and we HockeyBuzz, and he's very much a statistics person. So yeah, see where he's going with it. But all right, let's go. Let's do it. It's ready. Hello, Hockey World. It is Thursday, March 23rd, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I am Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes to you every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And today, the Maple Leafs are, according to my projecting thing, in the playoffs. Not only in the playoffs, but in third place. After winning a game that they weren't supposed to win, according to my thing last night, in what was a very entertaining game for a lot of reasons. But the most of which, of course, is getting the most hoopla today. And I happened to just catch this. I was flipping through games I caught when this happened that the Maple Leafs had to kill off a penalty. And there was a lot of interesting things. So they kill off a 5-minute power play.
Yep.
They expect there to be a stoppage. And that's not the first time I've seen this happen where they don't put a player in there right away.
Well, actually, Paul Stewart on our site, and I retweeted this, and it was very insightful, gave a breakdown of what the situation was. Roman Polak gets a 5-minute boarding major and a game misconduct for hitting Oliver Bjorkstrand into the boards. Mike Babcock did not put a player in the penalty box. Now, apparently that's commonplace, but at some point during the 5-minute major, most of the time teams will put in a player. So
always at some point.
Right. So exactly. So when the major is expired, the player can exit the penalty box. Well, Babcock didn't, and the rule is if you don't have somebody in the penalty box to leave it to make it 5-on-5, you remain shorthanded until the next whistle.
Right.
There was a no break in play for a minute and 54 seconds after the 5-minute major. And they were basically almost a 7-minute power play. It didn't really make any difference because Columbus's power play was so terrible in the third period. They got one shot on goal in 6 minutes.
That was still dumb, though.
It was very dumb.
There were a couple things that were really interesting, and I think Paul kind of filled it up, kind of answered the questions I had because we were sort of on such weird uncharted territory. Like, could they ice the puck now? Like that was something I was curious. Like, but he was. I guess they're still technically shorthanded and can still ice the puck as much as they want.
Right.
Which is interesting because, and I can't imagine that that's true. And here's why. Here's the thing. You're not allowed to change personnel during an icing. That's why. No. That's not the case. No, not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about here is, well, you're right about that. But the fact is, if you could stay shorthanded and give yourself the chance to ice the puck at will, would teams ever just decide to play one man down and ice the puck at will?
Oh, I see what you're saying. If they can control the puck, it's not that easy.
Right, but if you're trying to kill it off at the end of the game, why not? Because icing the puck, it really gives you an advantage. Being able to ice the puck, I don't think you would ever do it. But I'm just saying. What was curious was, and obviously the goalie, it was Bobrovsky, right?
No, it was
Right. He didn't know what to do either. Like if the puck was being set down the ice, he was doing a smart thing. He was just coming out of his crease to act like he was playing it, which would wave off the icing. Meanwhile, I was watching it on the Blue Jackets. I was watching Rimmer, actually, Josh Rimmer's dad, Jeff Rimmer, call it, and he said, "Well, there's still shorthanded, so they can ice the puck at will." I couldn't imagine that was the case. Like it didn't seem possible. I mean, it's such a weird circumstance, but I was trying to figure out what was going to happen, and of course, at the end of the day, Boyle, you could have, and I'm telling you what, that second round draft pick wouldn't have done this. Boyle takes the puck and shoots it into the bench, which was a smart move. And gets the stoppage, and Babcock afterwards was pretty funny about it. He was obviously,
he owned it. He owned it.
Can you imagine how bad that would have been if they had scored on us and we had lost the game because of that? So,
I do want to give a congratulations to John Tortorella showing great restraint. As we all know, this is the kinder, gentler Torts, and he really showed that last night.
Well, okay, and you're being tongue in cheek here, and honestly, I can understand as being a fellow Paisan, I can understand the frustration he had. Okay, I'm trying to look at this objectively. Leo Komarov undercuts Nick Foligno behind the Leafs net. Foligno slams into the boards. He was hurt. He went to the locker room, came back, no penalty called. Connor Carrick with a clean hit on Josh Anderson. Really nice hit. But the way the league is going now, even clean hits are getting called for penalties. No penalty called. They're down 2-0. He goes into the locker room, and I'm assuming he peeled the paint in the locker room. They come out on fire in the second period. David Savard scores a goal. Brandon Saad scores the tying goal. And then the Leafs get the go-ahead goal on Nylander's really nice play. Early third period, Polak, what's going on in this game is there's no accountability. The referees are not calling, and Polak smears Bjorkstrand on the boards and gets a 5-minute board and a game misconduct. And you know what? Rightly, Tortorella is reading the riot act.
Bjorkstrand was bleeding pretty good.
Yeah, but the whole thing is the contributing factor here is these referees let things go early in the game and didn't set a precedent of what should be called and what shouldn't be called, and then try to make up for it when some guy gets smeared along the boards, and who knows how long Bjorkstrand's going to be out, if it's a concussion or whatever. I mean, I don't know, but that's the whole thing. There has to be consistency in the officiating, and I don't think there was.
I would just say this: I think if Tortorella's team went out to dinner after that game and I was a waiter and he ordered, like, let's say pasta, I would be afraid to walk over to him and ask him if he wanted ground pepper or not. I would.
It was.
I think he was. I think he was completely justified in his frustration.
Not to the degree he acted, he was not completely justified. He was standing up. He was trying to make himself 6 feet tall. That's hard to do.
Yeah, well, he apparently used enough expletives that Greg Millen.
He was leaning over. I'm surprised. I mean, he was. If there was a way he could have been elevated over the ice, he would have done it.
I have Hey, as a fan of baseball managers beating umpires, I have no problem whatsoever him getting in the face of Tim Peel if he thought his team was in.
Getting in the face is one thing. He did a little more than that.
And apparently Tim Peel said some stuff back to him because Greg Millen, who was the man between the glass last night, had to mute his microphone because enough expletives were being used. So he's sticking up for his team. The Leafs played a rough and tumble game. They won the game. It was a good victory for them. They jump ahead of Boston in the third place. The Islanders keep pace with them with the win over the Rangers, which we may talk about in a minute. But right now Boston has to respond.
Boston's in trouble. They're finally in trouble.
Boston needs to respond. They're a point behind Toronto, and Toronto has a game in hand, and Toronto plays New Jersey tonight.
And the Islanders have a game in hand too, I believe.
Yeah, the Islanders are playing Pittsburgh tonight, I believe.
Well, but they still have a game in hand.
And here's the thing, Toronto's playing New Jersey tonight, but that's a trap game too for the Maple Leafs if there ever was one. New Jersey can any team, like if after you win a game you're not supposed to win, like they win in Columbus, and I don't think anyone really expected them to win that game in Columbus. After you win that game, you got to come back and you got to beat the Devils, and that's tough. That's tough for teams. It's tough for any team, no matter how experienced or inexperienced they are, right? So.
And the Leafs are playing their backup goaltender, playing McElhinney in back-to-back nights. And Russ, just an interesting little thing. Eric Fehr, who finally gets into the lineup for the first time after being acquired at the deadline. So first game in 3 weeks. Comes in, plays really well, leads the team in hits, blocks a shot in the third period, broken hand, out for the season. So it's so the thing is, I mean, if the rumors are true that he's the guy that goes to Vegas in the expansion draft, his Leaf career lasted exactly 1 game.
Well, it's 1 game more than most. I mean, it's interesting. I will say this: I saw Ty get asked a question yesterday on Twitter. Could the Bruins possibly fall out of this? And he was like, "Well, I don't know if there's a team that could take it from them that's playing well enough." Well, I think we saw that team, and the team is the Islanders. They played a great game against the Rangers. The goaltending was, Greiss finally played what I would call a must-win sort of game at the right level, where I'd say, all right, you know what? I think he might have turned the corner here. Yeah. The Islanders' defense was fantastic. Nick Leddy showed that he is so much faster than any other defenseman, even on the Rangers. It's not even funny. And the Rangers had trouble keeping up. Now with Hosang in the lineup, the Rangers defensemen had trouble keeping up with the Islanders forwards. Now, the weird thing is Tavares had too many penalties in that game. That was just sort of an oddity. But that game told me that, hey, you know what? The Islanders now have it together to the point where they could be a real threat, because now they won the season series against the Rangers with this win. That's a big deal. There was a very funny interview in between periods. Pierre interviewed Doug Weight, and Doug Weight was not happy with his team. They were losing at the time, and Doug Weight said on a couple of those goals, his team looked sleepy.
Yeah, and I saw that. I know, and they did actually. Awesome. And he was right. I mean, those first 2 periods was not a good game. I mean, and even in the third period, I thought the Islanders got lucky to hold on to that win. I mean, that because the Rangers were coming. I mean, the Rangers had.
Andrew Ladd was a big player in that game. He was.
Oh yeah. And the Rangers though, when the Rangers wanted to, they could get the Islanders running around in their own zone, yes. and when they wanted to, they got all kinds of stuff.
But they couldn't bury it. Like, here's the thing that's frustrating from that point of view. Like, Nash finally got a goal, and he played a really great all-around game. He had a wide open net, he couldn't score. Yeah. Grabner had a completely wide open net. He couldn't score. Like, this is something that has plagued the Rangers all year. Derek Stepan is the king of sometimes missing wide open nets. And it's just, it is kind of crazy how they can have all these opportunities and not hit on them. So while people may be high on the Rangers because they have Lundqvist, and you know what? They're not that clutch. And again, this game shows a lot of it. And the Rangers have warts at home. Their home record stinks.
Now the Islanders' schedule, they play Pittsburgh tomorrow night, then they go back-to-back against Boston on Saturday, which will be a really big and key matchup. Now, but this morning, as we speculated about a little while back, Yaroslav Halak called up from Bridgeport. It had to happen because JF Berube was so bad in his last start and really cost them a game that they should have won. I believe it was against Carolina. That there was no, I don't care what Garth Snow has against Halak or has against his agent. It's coming down to the point where you've got to win points and you need a backup goaltender who can stop a beach ball, and Halak can, and probably Berube can't.
He's going to have to play a game or two. I mean, there's no way around it.
They say he's going to play against Pittsburgh tomorrow night.
Here's the interesting thing about the Rangers. Their away record is unbelievable. It's 26-9-1. Now their home record is 19-16-3, but lately it stinks.
Yeah.
And it's just I've never seen them. It's been a few years since they've been this bad at home. I can't say I've never seen them because they've had moments where at home for some reason because of the pressure of MSG they have not done well. Well, this is the worst time of the year for this to happen. But the Islanders, I got to tell you, Boston, if I'm Boston, I am really, really worried now because the Islanders have at least changed their lineup a little bit. They've got the goalie that they want, and Boston has this losing streak in their head. You could tell me otherwise, but there's enough of that core left that it's definitely something that's weighing on them.
And that road home disparity, you would think would hold the Rangers in good stead when it comes to them being the wild card team and playing against the top team in the Atlantic. But the problem is they don't play well against Montreal, so that will probably be a little bit of a problem for them. Boston, by the way, they've shaken up their forward lines in practice. I was following some of the reporters, including Ty, on I believe they moved Backus to the second line with Krejci and with I don't know if they moved Pasternak up to the number one line, but they've moved around those two lines. And that to me, and it's not a panic move. I mean, it's understandable after the last 3 games in a row, but still, I mean, that Backus line up until the last 3 games was arguably the best and most effective line in the NHL for a time, and now all of a sudden they're in the mix master here.
Yeah, that's a problem. The other problem is I think I saw a quote 2 days ago from Pasternak saying that he has to be better. Like, look, what does he have, 30 goals?
Yeah.
I don't know how much better David Pasternak can be. I think there's a little too much pressure on this youngster because other veterans aren't performing up to their expectations.
Well, there was a level of frustration. I think it was Ray Ferraro who was talking about it because he did the in between the glass for the Boston-Ottawa game that Brad Marchand, who runs around like a chicken with its head cut off all the time anyway. That's his role. That's what he does.
Yes.
But against Ottawa, they were outplaying the Senators, but the Senators were winning the game, and Marchand was even more sort of out of control in that game. And it's sort of like he got the impression that it was like, guys like Pasternak, guys like Marchand are carrying the water, so Bergeron as well, but there's not enough support there of anybody else. And if you look at that team, they're very top heavy. You've got 2 really good lines, but then your third and fourth lines are Noel Arcieri and Dominic Moore and Riley Nash. There's not a lot of
rotating guys in and out of that.
Right. There's not a lot of contribution. And, one of the things that you saw about those teams that won cups a few years ago and got to the cup finals is that those third and fourth lines, you had, Rich Peverly.
We've seen Danton Heinen play for a little bit.
Right.
Sellerik, or however you pronounce his name, played for a while.
Yeah,
I would like to see him come back. I think he had some good creativeness. I think they're lacking some of that.
Yeah, I mean, Ryan Spooner was an out player when it came to Claude Julien, and now all of a sudden he's an in player with Bruce Cassidy. And they may have bought in on Spooner being a contributor, but he's a third line guy, and they're not really getting a lot from that third line or that fourth line. So, yeah. So
let's go with the mini subject that we talked about, the Calder race. the interesting thing is, we kind of wish there would be like 5 spots to choose from this year because 3 is just not enough. The Matthews, Laine, we could talk about in a minute. I mean, they're 2 guaranteed guys to be on the ballot. Like nothing that happens or will happen in the next 2 weeks will change that.
Right.
But, I think Zach Werenski needs to be that 3rd guy in the ballot. I know people in Toronto will squeal because, you have Mitch Marner, you have William Nylander, but he is currently 10th in the league in scoring for all defensemen, but really only a couple of points from being 5th away in the league for scoring for defensemen. This is not rookie defenseman. This is NHL defenseman. And the interesting thing is he stacks up almost in every category except minutes. The other bigger defensemen with more points have played like 4 more minutes a game, which is good. I mean, I think they're managing him well, but I'm just saying with more opportunity comes more points.
Right.
Werenski's having one of the great rookie defensive seasons that we've seen in the last decade. He really is.
Yeah, he's echoing what Gostisbehere did last year, and I don't know.
But even better.
But even better, I mean, because Gostisbehere, I slot Gostisbehere in as a sort of a specialist.
Yeah, he's like he's a 3 and he's a top power play guy, but he's a 3 otherwise. Yes.
Whereas
he's a 1 in everything.
Yeah, he's a 1 or 2 in absolutely everything. So yeah, I buy into that, but as somebody who's looking at the whole spectrum in terms of rookies, I think the thing that hurts him, and if the Blue Jackets win the Metro, which is possible, I think he's a shoo-in to be part of the top 3 for the Calder. But if they finish 2nd or 3rd, I think it's still Columbus. It's sort of like being in the hinterland, so to speak. It's not, you're not getting that East Coast media attention that you get if you're in Philadelphia and you're Gostisbehere.
I think he's also a +20, which is really for a rookie defenseman is just unbelievable. Like there were plenty of other great rookie defensemen. If you look at their plus minus, and I know some people don't like plus minus, but tough. You look at their plus minus, they're usually not +20.
No. Nikita Zaitsev has got some points. He's played really well. He's been on the top pairing most of the year. But all you have to do is look at his stats column and see -23, and then bring things down to size. But when it comes to keep Matthews and Laine to the side. You got Aho. Yep. You've got Marner. You've got Nylander. You've got Werenski. I mean, I'd say there's probably 2 or 3.
Brady Shea might get some talk.
Right. I think in a way there'll be some reverse Toronto bias when it comes to the second Toronto player. Maybe. And the thing is, it's like I think Marner has had a remarkable
year. Matt Murray. We can't forget to leave. Matt Murray could easily end up on this ballot.
Right, and that'll be interesting. That'll be interesting because goaltending, again, you have to. Okay, well, it's the team in front of him. It's that bias. It's like, okay, right. Well, he's playing for a team that won the Stanley Cup. Well, yeah, he won the Stanley Cup with them. He should be given some of the credit.
I will tell you this: we've never seen a guy win the Stanley Cup and win a Calder the next year. We've never seen that.
I think the last one was Kenny Dryden.
Did Dryden do that?
Dryden, he came up in '71. Then he went back to college, and then
he did go back to college. Okay, that's why.
And then the next year he won the Calder.
That was just before I started watching hockey, so I've never seen it.
Yeah,
there you go.
Believe me, I was 3. I was 3 and 4.
I forgot he went back though. That's true.
He went back. So yeah, no, but he won the cup in I believe in '71, and came back and won the Calder the following year. But yeah, no, that's completely
crazy.
Yeah, it's crazy. So, but. I mean, the reason we bring this up is Matthews scored his 33rd goal of the year last night. He's tied with Laine now. And the thing was, and maybe it's just me being in sort of the Toronto bubble, there seemed to be like, okay, Laine's got a little bit of the advantage now because he's up by a couple goals and he's played less games. And Matthews had not scored in 7 games, and then all of a sudden he scored 2 in the last 3, and now he's tied. And now I'm sure it'll be back to he's playing center, he's playing with rookies and all the excuses. But the thing is, Laine's only scored a goal in his last 7 games, and Winnipeg is out of it. They're not playing games that are consequential for a playoff bid. So to me right now, if I had to bet, I would say 60-40 in favor of Matthews over Laine.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I think the goal output of Matthews has exceeded what any of us thought it would be, and it's tremendous. I think we were expecting pretty close to that for Line, but we weren't expecting Matthews to match Line in goals. But I still see online, Mike, with the Toronto media, well, Matthews started the year. He wasn't great defensively, but he is now. I got to tell you something. There's not that much difference in Austin Matthews' defense from the start of his NHL career to where he is now in this season. Has it improved a little bit? Sure.
Yeah, the Toronto media that I know. I mean, some of the talking heads on television. Sometimes they say things that I shake my head at, and I won't say.
But this is one of them because he started off as a very good defensive player. Trust me.
Yeah, no, and that was one of the things that was when he had that long goalless and pointless streak at the beginning of the year. He started off on like a house on fire, and then he had a long streak where he didn't score. He was still playing very responsible defensively. He was still getting offensive chances. He was still coming back and checking. People were, I didn't see anybody saying, well, he's dropping off the face of the planet. And he's been consistent defensively. I think he's been, as much as people are saying Nazem Kadri has been their best defensive center, I think it's been Matthews consistently all year. So I don't think he's going to be taking a hit for his game in his own zone. I think right now the only no,
it's just weird how I just see these posts where it's like, well, he's so much better defensively now than when he started this. And it's like, no, that's not true. He's marginally better defensively now when he started the season, but he started with a pretty good base.
I think that final thing, I think that comes in a way from Babcock saying, he's growing, he's improving.
Yeah.
We're just reflecting it on that. But, honestly, I mean, every player
How much has Babcock really had to do with Matthews? Let's be honest.
Not a lot. Yeah. All I know is this.
Oh, I don't know about that. I don't think that's fair.
I think that is fair.
Completely. With the three big rookies, he put Marner on the fourth line for one game. He got the message, and he's played consistently all year. He had to put Nylander on the fourth line 5 or 6 times, but he hasn't recently because he finally got the message. He never had to do that with Matthews.
Yeah, but what we don't know is behind the scenes. I mean, when you have a star player like that playing in a market like that, I can't help but think the coach is helping out.
Even at the Winter Classic, he said, "I haven't had to do much with him."
Exactly. Yeah, but he's going to say that. I mean, don't you? I think that I think he's shielded him nicely, and I think he's done a good job at it. I think he's. We don't know what he's. We don't know what he's done really, but obviously, I think that I can't help but believe that the Leafs in general have done a good job.
I think he would have done this for any coach, though. That's my point.
You're probably right, but I think that still there. That probably is right. All right. So real quick before we get into tonight's games, I apologize for going away. The kids are home, and I heard a giant crash upstairs, and they dropped something very, very large. But anyway, it's fine. It's all good now. That's the fun about doing podcasts later in the day.
I hope it wasn't your corgi. Your corgi's getting a little big there.
A little big, but yeah, and that's okay. So the Sabres. The Sabres. I got into today the Sabres forwards and who they should protect.
Yeah. Oh, let's do this. Yeah.
Let's do that with you guys a little bit here. So here we go. I'm going to bring it up now. I don't know how well you can see it, so I'm going to try it. I will read it out to you guys.
I see it.
Okay, so remember you have to protect 7 forwards. They only have one guy, Kyle Poso, who is actually they have to protect, who is their only guy with a no movement clause on the whole team. That's the only one. I don't know of any other team that has only one guy with a no movement clause. That's pretty good. So they really it's a pretty big list. I mean, they have a lot of players here. They get to keep 6. Now, obviously, some of them are pretty obvious. Matt Molson, they're going to
first of all, the Sabres are in a good position, like teams that are in rebuilds or just coming out of rebuilds, like Edmonton and Toronto. They have a lot of young players who are exempt, so it gives them a lot more flexibility.
They have a lot of exempt players, but all these guys aren't. So I mean, they have a lot of non-exempt players too. Ryan O'Reilly,
but Eichel's exempt. I'm saying Reinhardt's exempt.
Yeah, they do, but they still have 15 guys, 15 forwards who are eligible.
Yeah,
well,
that's way more than Boston had, at least when we first.
Well, let's say this. I think that there are a bunch of these forwards as we go through them that they're not going to be sad to lose.
Yeah.
Right.
So to me, Matt Molson, Ryan O'Reilly, and Evander Kane. Okay.
There's no way in hell they protect Matt Molson.
They're not protecting Evander Kane, and I'm not sure about Molson.
You got to be kidding me, really?
No.
I'm not kidding. They're going to protect Foligno.
They're not going to protect Evander Kane.
I don't think so.
No, they're definitely going to protect Evander Kane. I will bet you anything they're going to protect.
How much you want to bet?
He scored. How many goals does this guy have?
It doesn't matter.
It does matter. I mean, they don't have scoring. They need scoring. They're not going to let him.
They would be overjoyed if Vegas claimed him in expansion. But the thing is that Vegas won't because of his off-the-ice problems. The last thing they want is Evander Kane in Las Vegas.
I think I don't know. No.
Anyhow, Foligno, Larson, they're going to protect.
Yes.
Delorier, they're going to protect.
All right, so Delorier. All right.
Foligno and Larson, I think.
Larson.
I think they'll protect the young guys. I think there'll be O'Reilly, it'll be Opposo, it'll be Foligno, it'll be Larson.
6 right now. So, but you don't have Gergensons on here. Tyler.
Gergensons, they're not going to protect. I don't think they're going to protect Ennis with his post-concussion either.
Right. They'll protect Carrier because he's a young guy.
Yeah, Carrier they'll protect. That's the guy I would have there instead of Evander Kane. Then I think we're done.
Well, we have Matt Molson on here too. So
Molson I would have not on there.
So we got one Molson or Kane that you can take off.
I would take them both off. That's
we can protect all of them. They can protect. I mean, unless you're going to protect somebody else on here instead of. I can't see that. I can't see there's any way that they don't protect Evander Kane and Matt Molson.
Well, I mean,
this is not a team that has. I mean, they still have to win games next year.
Right, but the problem. Okay, first of all, the problem with Kane is he's got a year left in his contract.
Just 1 year.
I know, and maybe they can entice Vegas to claim him. I mean,
also you got to think he's going to have he has played well this year. You got to give him that.
Yeah, but I don't think the reason I bring up the contract situation is because, I don't think that the organization is interested in signing him to an extension with all the problems they have had off the ice with him.
All right, yeah, but even if they aren't willing to sign him to an extension, what's to say that they're not going to be able to trade him? I mean, at some point,
maybe they will trade him before the expansion draft. At
the end of the day, of these guys that they haven't protected, I would protect Gergensons before I protect Kane or Ennis or Molson. That's just me because Molson's old. Kane's got his problems. Ennis has post-concussion. There's no reason to protect those guys.
Right.
All right. So, Ennis, I'm with you. If you guys, you can outvote me here if you both want to take Molson and Kane off this thing, but I really think I'm going to be proven right on it. At least Kane. Maybe Molson I could see.
You don't have to listen to us. We're just giving you opinion.
No. We're democracy here. We're making our picks here for this thing. So,
I personally, if I was the Sabres, I would not protect Kane and I would not protect Molson. The thing is, Molson could be a buyout. Molson has 2 more years left. His contract at $5 million. He's a declining asset. He's played better this year than he did the previous year, but he's 30. I think he'll be 34 years old at the start of next year. They really have to move on from one of the reasons why because Toronto's playing Buffalo on Saturday. One of the reasons why the Sabres have not had as much success in their rebuild and the speed of it as opposed to Toronto is Toronto cleared out all their dead wood or most of it. Mm-hmm. Buffalo didn't. They re-signed Molson. They brought in Kane. They added Bogosian. Those guys have not performed up to expectations, and I think that's been to the organization's detriment. If I was the Sabres, I wouldn't protect Zach Bogosian if he was the last defenseman on the team.
We'll get to defense later, but we're going to start with just forwards today. So right now we have 5 protected. We have Larson, Foligno, Delorier, O'Reilly, Gergensen, and Carrier.
It's Carrier.
Carrier.
Yep.
So we got 1 more still we can protect here. So
I thought we have 6. 1, 2, 3.
We have 6. I personally.
We have 6. Okay. All right. We're going to go with this.
I personally would protect. Well, no, 6 including Opposo. I personally, the 7th would be Gergensons. I don't think the Sabres will do that.
Oh, that's right. No, I forgot about Opposo. So we got to take.
This is good. We're 6. We have the right amount to protect here. 6 forward.
If they re-sign Brian Giunta, which apparently they're going to do, and he's still the captain, then I think they'll protect Brian Giunta.
Yeah, but they haven't done it yet. All right,
I'm looking on. So we made the vote. Now we're looking at who the HockeyBuzz people have picked so far. All right, so they have Foligno, Kane, O'Reilly, Gergensen. They're with you on Molson and Larson. Let's see, 1, 2, 3. So overall,
most of them don't know Carrier. No offense, but they don't.
Yeah, they don't have Carrier on here yet. So Kane, Larson, Foligno, Delorier, Gergensen, and I guess O'Reilly is next. So those are the 6 they have right now.
Yeah.
But we'll see. This is still very early in the whole thing.
It is early.
So we'll see. But there's only 13 people voting so far. So we just because this poll was messed up earlier today. I apologize for that. Just didn't know no one told me this, or no, you probably were saying it all over the place. But I was running around with doing family responsibilities. So for what it's worth. But now the poll is correct. So I will I will repost this poll along with other things as well. So
in terms of defense, three defensemen. I mean, obviously Ristolainen. I think obviously Jake McCabe. And if I had to guess on the third one, Russ, would you expect them to protect Josh Georges over Bogosian? Because I think they would.
Yeah, I think they would too.
I mean,
at this point, they could lose Bogosian's salary. I think they would do it.
Yeah.
Well, because they're looking around the KHL, and at this point, they have a couple of bad salaries. They're going to dip into the free agent pool in the NHL. It's not like Zach Bogosian's holding them together. He's not.
And with their goaltending situation, I believe they can expose Linus Ullmark, even though he's gone. I think to play in Sweden right now, which means they'll protect Leonard unless they decide to move on from him, which I don't think they will. I mean, he's played better in the second half of the year, so I think they'll protect Leonard. Nilsson's a UFA, and Ullmark is an RFA, so they can expose him. And he's not a bad young goaltender, so maybe that's somebody that George.
No, he's not.
Yeah. Just a little bit of news here, but Sabre related.
Just so I know you groaned. Bogosian's got 8 points.
Yeah,
I know. I know he's got a big contract. I'm not so with him. I'm not so much in this.
Here's how many points he's had as a Sabre: 39 in 3 seasons.
He's a complete and utter bust in Buffalo. That trade, Tyler Myers has been out the entire year, and honestly, I still think that deal has been better for Winnipeg than it's been for the Sabres, because the Sabres took on over $10 million in salary with Bogosian and Kane, and neither one has performed up to the expectations that they had. Right. Now, two bits of news here. One earlier this afternoon, Roman Polak was suspended 2 games for the hit on Bjorkstrand. Just came down because we're talking about the Sabres. Rasmus Ristolainen is suspended 3 games for the hit that he put on Jake Gunsel of the Pittsburgh Penguins. So both of those players.
These are guys with like Ristolainen has no record.
No.
So all of a sudden they've gotten off that path. Like if this is a jogging path, they have now veered off the path of having to have a previous record. So again, I no longer can tell people when they ask me how many games you think someone's going to get. I have no idea.
I think this is the case of the Sabres are out of it. They're just going to make a statement with it.
Yeah, it was also the extent. I mean, I don't know how serious Gunsel is injured, but both Bjorkstrand and Gunsel were injured in these plays, and I still think, and I hate this precedent, but if the player is injured as opposed to the player not being injured, that factors into.
Yeah, I hate that too.
It's like, okay, if the hit's illegal, I don't care if the guy doesn't have a scratch on him, he should be suspended, and if he's and if the hit was legal and the guy breaks his neck, I mean, we hope that doesn't happen. But if it's legal and it's clean, then he shouldn't be penalized for it. So they got to get the injury out of it and determine whether it's based on the legality of the hit.
Yeah. I don't know. I
will just say they've been all over the board lately with
this. Been all over the board. But I think the NHL has been known to do this. I think with teams that if Buffalo was a team that was fighting for a playoff spot, I think we might see something different here. I just tend to feel that they go off that. I do.
Okay. I
don't think it's right, but I think that's what you tend to see.
You might be right. I can't say you're wrong.
I mean, they want to make a statement, right? They want to show that this is a play that shouldn't happen. So. This is I don't know. This is a chance to do that, I guess.
But no suspension for Evander Kane of knocking out teeth out of Sidney Crosby.
Yeah, that was crazy. I know that I still don't understand. 100% agree with you there. Tonight on the schedule, big games. The Lightning and the Bruins, of course. That's a big one. Lightning are still in this thing too. If they can win this game, then they're in a battle for sure. But they're not that far out of this whole thing. So.
Well, the news came down today. Steven Stamkos made a statement and said, he's not going to come back unless he feels 100%. Or to me, that echoes what everybody has been saying about him not being back for the rest of the season because he's coming back from an injury that they said the prognosis was 4 to 6 months, and we're I think in the 4.5 month range. So they're not going to risk it. And this goes hand in hand with what Steve Yzerman did at the deadline. He probably thought that they had no chance, even though they were in the midst of a winning streak. And he traded Boyle and he traded Filppula, and then they kept winning. And then they lost Johnson and they lost Nemestikov. And honestly, I think in a way you have you have to blame Steve Yzerman for quitting on his team too early because they were rolling. They were rolling, and then they had the injuries, and if Filppula and Boyle were there after Johnson and Nemestikov got hurt, they might have been able to stem the tide and continue to win, but they're not there. And when you're playing Yanni Gourde and Greg McCagg as your 2 and 3 centers, you're in deep doo-doo.
Well, here's a funny thing. I wanted to put in on Twitter what the Tampa Bay Lightning starting lineup is, and instead I got a 1998 starting lineup figure of Darren Pupa.
Wow.
I remember Darren Pupa playing in college. That's the funny thing. A friend of mine who went to RPI. It was a big deal there, so it's actually kind of funny. I am covering the East Regionals over the weekend, and Harvard is playing, and so is Merrick Madsen. They're playing Providence. I have to tell people, I haven't had a chance to write it yet. I do have a great feeling about Harvard that they have a chance to win it all. So if I'm a Flyers fan. I want to keep an eye on Merrick Madsen over the weekend.
It's going to be a good one. I mean, I think I have a lot of Harvard fans that I know, a whole group of them. So
they have a good team. They've been building. Even without BC, they have a lot of good players. Ted Donato is a great coach. Ryan Donato is a tremendous player. His son. I just think they have things going the right way. I think Ted, like I told you, I think Ted Donato's on the fast track for whatever he wants an NHL job.
I think so too. I agree with that. Other big games tonight, of course, the Devils and Maple Leafs. We talked about that one.
Yep, but battle the backup goaltenders, Keith Kincaid versus Curtis McElhinney.
The Blue Jackets and the Capitals. This is a battle now for first in the division.
Yeah, I mean, last night's game, and you could maybe tell it in the first period that maybe the Blue Jackets were looking forward to the Capitals game tonight. They played Korpisalo, who I didn't think played badly, but they played Korpisalo instead of Bobrovsky. They came out in a slumber in the first period, and I think they were looking ahead towards Washington. This is a big game for Columbus, but obviously it would have been a bigger game if they had beaten Toronto. So, I mean, now they have to make up those 2 points.
They do.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, I think we should be real about this game. I don't think either team is going to go so hard that they sort of risk any kind of injury or anything to be the best team overall. They're not going to do it.
I don't think it's about being the best team overall, but I do think it's a big difference if you finish first in the Metro. I mean, I think that's a huge difference because you're going to play a wild card team versus playing one of the third place team, which is going to be
but they're still not going to mortgage it. Even Tortorella's smart enough to not put all of his eggs in the one basket. They're going to try hard. Don't get me wrong.
No, I think
but I don't think this is going to have a playoff intensity. I don't.
I would be surprised if it didn't. I think the Capitals really don't want to fall out of that first spot. I really think that's because they've been there all year, and if they come out of there, and they could then be looking at the Rangers, or they could be looking at whoever teams they don't.
Capitals don't want to play the Rangers. I guarantee you, if you secretly polled them, that is a series they don't want any part of.
But
there's no way that they can play the Rangers. The Rangers
in the first round.
In all likelihood, you're right. I mean, the Rangers. You're totally right in all likelihood. But I still think that it also comes down to. Doesn't it come down to? Let's see.
The first wild card is going to play the Atlantic Division.
Right, I know that. But then the two. So whoever finishes first in the
Metro will play the second wild card, which would be Boston, Toronto.
Then play the winner of the second versus third, right? So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're going into the second round, then
Rangers are right where they want to be. Fourth is where you want to be. All right, then the other big games, the Flames and Predators. This is actually a really big wild card game potentially in the West. I mean, depending on how everything plays out here, I mean, the Predators really have to win this game. This is a big game for them tonight against Atlanta, Calgary. That's pretty good. Atlanta.
That's close.
It's been a long day. And then a couple the Oilers, Avalanche. Oilers will get back on track tonight, you would think.
Well, second of back-to-back.
The Avalanche are a tricky team now. Like, they have young players that just don't care,
No, they are for sure. For sure. That's for sure. And then the Jets and the Kings, the final battle of these two teams, both of whom look like they're a little too far out right now.
I mean, the porch light's flickering for the Kings. They have to win this game.
Yeah, if they have any chance at all, they have to win this one.
Yeah,
But,
Penguins Senators, I think will be an interesting game. The one thing, the Penguins right now, Russ, they're losing a lot of players to injury. I mean, I know Malkin was out for a couple games. Gunsell's been out since that hit. Letang was out. Now he's back in. I mean, obviously, Carl Hagelin's out. Obviously, they're going to hold people back until just before the beginning of the playoffs. But you also don't want these players like all coming back at the last second and being rusty.
Right.
Yeah. But here's an interesting story. So Luke Kunin's going to probably come out in college. He's close to signing now for Minnesota. They agreed to terms, 3-year entry level, so that's done.
Yeah. And he's going to sign with Iowa.
Is he definitely going to Iowa, or are they going to give him a game or two in
No, according to Iowa, so he's going to go to play. He's going to sign an ATO with Iowa and play in the AHL.
No, that's good, and he'll. That may be the only AHL play he ever sees. Like he could literally be that good because he is like, even though he's a centerman, he is a scorer first. Like, and he's fast and he's smart. I would think in this little audition, he could really help himself help earn a spot for next year, even though he's a young player.
He's one of the main reasons why Minnesota traded a first-round pick to get Martin Hansel, because they had him, they had Greenway, they had the Russian kid Kaprizov.
Kaprizov, yep.
Kaprizov, I always mispronounce his name. But they had all these guys in the pipeline, and they could afford to trade the first-round pick.
Yeah.
This is a big deal.
Good point. All right, let's go to the lottery simulator, shall we?
All right.
Here we go.
Sound effects ready.
See what happens tonight. All right, here we go. And today, the winner of the NHL lottery simulator is the Colorado Avalanche. They finally have won one. Who actually gets the upbeat thing, Mike, nowadays? Like, I know it used to be.
I don't know. We'll see.
Everybody's. I mean, Colorado's pretty excited about that pick. All right. Next up, we have Detroit, followed by Winnipeg. Okay, so.
Well, I'll give you the fascinating part of this one.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm Detroit, I think I have to take Timothy Liljegren second, because if I'm looking for a guy that is at least going to give me some of the traits that Nick Lidstrom had, that's the guy.
Yeah, Russ, but he will be stamped as the next Lidstrom.
But Detroit will say he's not that. But you know what? He would be a tremendous upgrade for their defense in their pipeline.
Under so much pressure.
It doesn't matter. I mean, I think that would be a natural fit.
I think you're right.
Yeah, well, you got to deal with the pressure. So,
yep.
If he's a second pick overall.
And he might not play right away. He might wait another year. I mean, he might stay over there for another year or two. Detroit really doesn't rush guys. Nope. So I don't think that it would hit him right away. But I think they need defense in their system. They drafted a lot of defensemen last couple of years, but late round guys.
Yeah.
Their last early round defenseman they just traded in Brendan Smith. I can't think of another first round defenseman that they have.
Interesting. All right, guys. Going to be a fun day. We'll be back again tomorrow. I think we're going to do the podcast at noon tomorrow, guys. So check back.
Not me. I'm going to be in Providence.
You will be in Providence, but enjoy your time there in Providence. We will be back tomorrow, Mike and I, and get you ready and fill you in on what happens after tonight. A lot of games tonight. So enjoy the hockey tonight. Remember, without the buzz, it is just hockey. We will talk to you tomorrow.